All right. Today on Smooth Operator Trucking, we're going to be doing a ride along and an interview with the man, the myth, the legend, my dad, Rodney, aka Concord. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Alright, so we're back. Today I have before you a legend, Rodney Williams. This is kind of how I got into trucking, but not by his choice. If it was up to him, I would do anything else other in the world other than trucking. But it is what it is. So we're going to start off by asking you, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, where you're from, you know, some childhood memories, and what led you to get into trucking.
Oh, hey, good afternoon. Well, of course, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, born and pretty much raised there. Trucking, how did I get into trucking? Well, actually quite by accident. I don't think it was the first choice I wanted to do, but I actually, at a job I was working at, I had a crew that came there, and they were talking about trucking. I think it was for a moving company. And I listened to their sales pitch, and next thing I know, I'm out moving furniture for a living. Found out I really enjoyed being gone. I enjoyed being on the road. I enjoyed traveling, and I made decent money. So after a while, it kind of got into my blood, and it kind of sticks with me. And I guess it's one of those things, once a trucker, always a trucker. So that's pretty much where we're at now. And as far as living, saying true, I thought trucking was too hard of a job, and he thought it was too easy of a job. Alright, so I guess they say if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So he seems to enjoy it. I guess you can't beat that.
So tell us about your first trucking job. What rumor has it you worked for North America, and you had an old GMC cab over. What made you get a GMC cab over and fresh out of the gate, no experience whatsoever? What made you become an owner operator right off the jump?
Well, there again, this particular recruiter, he worked for North American, and I really didn't want to go into the moving business. I wanted to go into freight. I figured being young, 21 years old, no experience, I wouldn't get hired by any company. So he made it sound like a good idea to come on, and they would, you know, train me, and I would become an owner operator. So I guess money is really what made me end up in the moving business instead of in freight. It costs less money to buy a single axle truck than a tandem axle to do freight with it. And so that's how I ended up in the moving business. Actually, surprisingly enough, I found out that I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed meeting people. There was a challenge loading and unloading people's furniture, but at the end of the day, it was a real great joy and satisfaction when people were pleased with their move, and you helped them to go through one of the most stressful parts of their life, moving. So as time went on, I kind of decided to drain into other things. I ended up actually getting into freight commodities, and decided to stop driving for a while. That was kind of still in my blood, so back to driving now, but it's not so much being over the road and gone all the time. I could leave out. I'm usually back home within the next day or two and off most weekends, so I kind of call this part-time driving or an over-the-road driver.
So your first truck was a GMC.
Yeah, the old Jimmy.
What is it, an Astro?
GMC Astro, yes it was.
What kind of engine they have in it?
Oh my goodness, that was a big engine back then. I think that was one of them Cummins, one of them big old, had a 290 horsepower Cummins engine in it. Actually, that was a pretty small engine, but it did what I needed it to do. And it actually proved to be quite reliable. I got quite a few miles out of that truck and engine and made enough money to be comfortable.
Okay. I remember you were telling me about, I think I mentioned to you one time about how bogus lease purchase programs were, after doing some research, and I said I would never do one. And this is only, I think this is within the last year or two that you made it known to me that that particular situation was a lease purchase for you, your first time, correct?
It was, actually. Well, I don't want to call it a lease purchase because it wasn't really a lease purchase. It was actually, it was actually like buying a car. It wasn't a lease purchase. If you lease a car, it's kind of like, it's a difference between leasing a car and buying a car. With North American, it wasn't a lease purchase plan. It was like buying a car. You put a down payment on it, and we had weekly payments. We didn't have monthly payments, and you made your payments.
Now, you remember what your weekly payment was back then? The guys nowadays they're to the tune of anywhere from $600-700 to $1,000 a week.
Oh my goodness! No, I think probably $200 a week. Yeah, it probably wasn't even that much then.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite a small amount, but now there were some companies out there that had so-called lease purchase plans, and they were designed for you to fail. Their idea was they really were not gonna. You were not really gonna be able to complete the lease.
Okay.
They had so many stipulations in it that you were gonna actually continue to lose money.
Kind of the same way it is now. I know you probably haven't.
Interesting. I don't know because I haven't really looked at a lot of companies that are doing that now. I do know when I started, there were a number of companies that did that, and they made money moving freight, but they also made money selling trucks. And a lot of drivers would not make the money. I would say I don't think it's a good idea for anybody to be buying a truck from the same people that you have to rely on to get your loads, get your freight, make your money from.
Okay.
Because they control everything.
Yep.
And so when they decide they don't want you to make money, you're not going to make money. And if they decide they want the truck back, they can resell it. It's kind of like we told the note car deals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't have to follow the same rules as if you go to a finance company to buy a car. With them, you miss your first payment, they can repossess the car pretty much.
Oh wow.
Yeah, of course they have to give you a little bit of time to get it back, but all the extra fees that you're going to incur, and then of course you're mad at this point, you just tell them go ahead and keep it.
Right.
So they make more money off of selling, repossessing, and reselling cars.
So I remember also a story you told me about.
Which one?
Well, I mean, we talk about a lot of stories. I'm sure
okay.
we don't have enough time and battery and to get through all of them. But
I'm glad you catch me while I still got a little bit of memory. Like I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
Well, I'm trying not to ask you any questions that might incriminate you what you did 20, 30 years ago. So what year was that?
Well, all I got to do is look over across from me and look at you.
That's incriminating enough, man. So what was that, about 1979 you started trucking?
No, actually it was in 81. I actually turned 21 that year.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the youngest you could be to drive interstate over-road trucking.
All right. And so tell me the story about, because at one point you actually got behind on your lease purchase, right? What happened there?
Well, it's interesting as life with those things happen. And I don't actually believe I had really started working good, maybe 3 months, and I got sick.
So this is 3 months into you first being a truck driver, first being an owner-operator, and kind of on a semi-lease purchase program.
Absolutely.
Where you're paying $200 a week for, which is $19.81, which is...
Yeah, quite a bit of money back then.
Right.
Quite a bit of money now too, for that matter. But yeah, well, and I guess, actually, I ended up going to hospital, spent a little time in the hospital, took 6 weeks off from work, went back to work, which was probably a total of 2 months later. And of course, at this point, I'm probably $900,000 or so in the hole as far as owing them for payments.
Okay.
So I go back to work, and I guess one of the things I have to really do is credit my mom, because she early on taught me about being financially responsible and paying your bills. So everything was still under regulation, so we actually got paid a whole lot more money.
So you started trucking before deregulation.
Yes.
And we'll get to that later.
But so back then, I mean, the money was out here to be made, and all you had to do was go to work. And and another thing I have to credit with is I'm not around a lot of truck drivers now, because I'm not out there like I used to be. But back when I was younger, a lot of guys drove trucks because they thought it was all fun and games. They used to be a show called BJ and the Bear, came on years ago, and heck, the only thing I ever seen BJ haul was a bear. And the bear was really a monkey.
Yeah.
But I never saw him haul loads, so I don't know how he made money. And I think a lot of truck drivers thought that that's what it's supposed to be about, all fun and games. They didn't realize that it's a business, and as such, you got to run it like a business. They thought it was all fun and games, but no, I knew it was a business, and I knew I had to take care of my business. I knew I had to take care of the money I made.
All right.
So, and I was determined that I was not going to be one of those people, because I did hear people tell me, "Oh, you'll never get a truck paid for from North America. They're going to end up taking the truck. They're going to slow down your work. You won't get it paid for." Well, I was determined to prove them wrong on that as far as I was concerned. And I remember even after I caught up, my dispatcher told me, she said, "You've done a really great job, because most guys, they fall behind and they end up losing the trucks." So, but I was determined I wasn't going to lose the truck. I recognized it was a business. I mean, yes, I had fun times out there, but business came first. And plus, I had responsibilities.
Okay. So in that old Jimmy, I mean, what was you remember what the price, what year was the Jimmy when you got it, and you remember the price tag on it?
Oh, my. Let me see. I bought that GMC truck used. I bought it in 81. I think it was a 1978 or 1979 GMC Astro.
Okay.
At that particular time, I think brand new, the truck would have been about $45,000. I know, right?
Wow.
I know, $45,000 really buy you an engine now. But I think I bought it for $23,000.
Okay.
And there again, I didn't go out and buy a brand new truck because I wanted to be able to earn some money and pay for this truck. I didn't want to get over my head with something that it was something new and different, and I didn't want to get into something I ended up thinking I could not afford.
Okay.
So I was determined to keep within a certain budget.
Okay. And how long was it? So you caught up and everything. How long did it take? Did you pay the truck off?
Yes, I actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was set up on a 2-year payment plan, and I did pay it off in those 2 years.
Wow.
So, yes.
Okay.
Well, there again, You know, we're talking only $22,000.
Right.
In 1981, 82, 83. I mean, I don't. Well, let's see. I came out of high school in '78. Minimum wage was like about $2.35 or $2.40 or something. So I imagine in 82, 83, minimum wage was probably still less than $3 an hour. So, you know, cost of living for the most part at that time wasn't very much. Of course, people wasn't making very good money back then either.
Right. And plus, you live in Memphis. I mean, Memphis is low.
Well,
I mean, you know, that's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's a low. What's the word I'm looking for? Low income, low.
Well,
not a very expensive place to live.
Yeah, they consider Memphis to be a more of an affordable city to live in.
Okay. Plus, it's a great city for freight. I don't know about household moving, but as far as any other freight, it's a pretty good city.
Well, you know, household, not so totally. It's almost hard to really even consider household moving as trucking.
Right.
I mean, but obviously we use trucks to do it with. I mean, yeah, I would. Federal Express, they have, and I'm not talking about all the trucking division, but Federal Express air freight. They use trucks in their business, but they're not really considered a trucking company. We in the moving business at the time, and even now, yes, you use trucks to do the moving, but there's a lot. You actually provide a service to the people that are moving.
Okay.
You know, and hopefully you can provide them with that service of, like I say, easing some of the stress that comes with moving. So, yeah, so I guess you were a trucker, but you weren't the average trucker.
Okay. All right. So you paid off the Jimmy, still with North America, got sick, but you recovered from that. Let's see here. Deregulation. What year was deregulation? Or do you remember what year deregulation was?
I'm gonna say it was really starting probably around 82, I would say. We started watching freight. Well, I don't know about freight rates, but I started watching the rates in the household, and the moving business started going down. Where you used to, the rates were set by the government, and so when deregulation came along, they started allowing trucking companies to set their own rates. Okay. And different little things, and so you end up with more competition, and with competition, people start to do what they have to do in order to get business.
Okay.
You know, I might have a car wash and I'm charging $7.50 to wash cars. You may open up a shop across the street charging $7. You know, so and that's what deregulation brought about, competition. I would like to think that people would pick things based upon the best service, but we know people want to and try to save money.
Right.
And so sometimes they go with the cheaper price. Sometimes cheaper is not always better. Sometimes more expensive is not always better. So sometimes you stick with a company that has a reputation, so that there again, because like I say, moving is a very stressful thing. It's bad enough that you're moving, but then you're entrusted all of your personal belongings to a stranger. You know, and so that's one of the first things you've got to try and do. Is, you know, it's a people business, so you really have to like people, and you have to try to make people comfortable when they meet you.
All right. So deregulation happened, and so you kind of. What did you feel like? Do you feel like deregulation was a good thing for the industry or a bad thing for the industry, or a little bit of both?
Interesting. Well, from my point of view, I made more money when the industry was regulated. We had fuel surcharges. From a personal point of view, I would say deregulation was a bad thing for trucking.
Okay.
And really, as a whole, I think it was a bad thing for trucking because, there again, when I first started trucking, I wasn't a union driver because I was an owner-operator. But at that point, it started to affect a lot of union companies because a lot of companies, and I don't mean to harp on J.B. Hunt or anything like that,
Right.
but J.B. Hunt came into existence because of deregulation. Now, Snyder had been around a long time, and they were a union company. But when deregulation came in, Snyder became two separate companies running under one belt. One was the union, one was the non-union. And they've slowly phased out the union because obviously all the union drivers are probably no longer working or no longer living. So deregulation hurt drivers because a lot of drivers' pay went down. You got a lot of companies that came into existence because of deregulation that would not have come around. And of course, once again, we're back to driver pay went down. So as a whole, did it hurt or help the industry? I think it really hurt the industry as far as stability goes. But it's like everything, you know, you have to learn to work within the parameters or with the hand that you're dealt.
Okay. That's a good analogy. So one thing you said is you ran, you know, at a young age of 21, very uncanny for someone to live within their means. And as long as I've known you, in your personal life and in your trucking life, you've always lived within your means. Which they both kind of help each other to a certain degree when you think about it. Now, as far as running your truck like a business, I know fuel mileage wasn't a big deal back then. And heck, right now, fuel prices are kind of low.
Well, yeah, well, you know, you have to, about to say you have to remember, but you don't. In 81, I was paying 35-40 cents a gallon for diesel.
Wow.
I mean, so.
With a fuel surcharge, so before deregulation.
What was it?
You said no. You said that you also got fuel surcharges.
Yeah, we did. We got. Well, okay. I can only go by household because that's what I was doing at the time. Basically, when the fuel surcharge, you know, it's interesting. Now, when I look back, as I said, when I first started, I was probably paying 35-40 cents a gallon for diesel fuel. Fuel prices started going up, and diesel fuel got to be like maybe 50 or 60 cents a gallon. I know, right? And so, because fuel prices had gone up, they started this fuel surcharge. And in household, they charged 21% of what the freight charges were.
Okay.
So if I came to your house to move your furniture, and I said, okay, you've got so much furniture, you're going to move to California, we're going to charge you $7,000 to move your furniture to California. Now, we're going to throw in 21% on top of that $7,000 for fuel surcharge.
Okay.
And so your freight bill, let me round it back down. You know, I like simple numbers.
Right.
So let's go with $10,000. What we're charging you to move it. I know $10,000 sounds high, but
All right.
some people pay pretty good money back then. So now on top of the $10,000, we're going to charge you an extra $2,100 fuel surcharge. That's that 10%. You know, and I mean, yeah. Well, no, 21%. Oh no, yeah, that's that 21%. I'm sorry.
All right.
That's that 21%. So you got to pay $10,000 for moving, then an extra $2,100 for fuel. So we were making money like we were making out like a bandit, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because fuel was not really costing us that much money. And I mean, the fuel surcharge alone, that helped pay for the truck.
Okay.
That helped pay for other expenses. That helped pay for the fuel. Like I say, we were making money. I mean, it's like it was just out there.
Huh. So it wasn't anything for you to bring, I mean, back then, to clear $1,500 a week.
Woo! Goodness gracious. There again, I can only go by what we did in household.
Okay.
Now, of course, starting out with North American. My average line haul would be about 12 or 14,000. But now I didn't the whole 12 or 13,000 was not mine.
Right.
I usually got 50% of that, which I made, let's say $7,000.
Okay.
And on the average, I would do 2 runs a month. So if you take that 2 runs a month, and my total line haul of the freight that I haul, furniture, household goods, you're looking at about $25,000.
Okay.
Half of that was mine. So I would make about 12,000 a month. Now, of course, we're talking gross here.
Right.
You know, I would make about 12,000 a month on my line haul.
Okay.
But let's go in that 20%, 21% fuel surcharge. Now we're talking 20% fuel surcharge on $25,000.
Right.
So now we're looking at another maybe $5,000 fuel surcharge.
Okay.
So now I get $12,000 plus $5,000. So now I'm bringing home $17,000 a month on a good month if I work.
Right.
So to say
Okay.
$1,500 a week,
Yeah.
it was all. But there again, also one other thing too. I worked, but a lot of times in the wintertime, but I didn't work a lot in the wintertime because I like being home.
Right. Plus, it's kind of cold out there, moving furniture around and on the
I like being home. Things slow. Household people don't move a lot in the wintertime.
Right. Okay.
You know. So people don't move a lot in the wintertime. So I just kind of stayed home. You know, I did move every now and then, but yeah, like I say, the money in the household back then was good.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, and then of course deregulation came along, and the moving companies themselves, they didn't like the idea that the drivers were getting all this fuel surcharge, and they were getting none of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So what they did was they took the fuel surcharge and they rolled it into the rates. Now, all of a sudden, fuel that the company's not paying for, guess what? They're getting money off of what they're not paying for fuel.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm still getting 50% of what the line haul is.
Right.
Well, they rolled the fuel surcharge into the line haul. So I no longer got this fuel surcharge. So now all of a sudden, you're talking 20%. Well, actually, if you really factor in, it was probably a little bit more than 20% of my income gone. If you figure I can make $15,000 a month, let's say simple numbers, $10,000 a month.
Right.
20% of that was $2,000. So basically, $2,000 to $4,000 extra a month went out of my pocket. You know, you go past that, then they start discounting moves. Whereas your move might have cost you $10,000. Now they're going to give you a 25% discount.
Okay.
Now your move's only going to cost you $7,500. You know, so guess what? More money out of my pocket. Well, the discounts kept coming. 25%, 30, 40, 50% discount.
Wow.
Yes. So now, instead of I'm making half as much money doing the same amount of work with the same amount of expenses.
But more expenses.
Right. So when you talk about deregulation, from a personal standpoint, it was not good for me.
Okay.
You know, now I've got to work twice as hard to make less money.
Okay.
So, for me, it was not good. For the consumers, yes. Yes. For shippers, yes, because it became a dog-eat-dog world.
Okay.
You know, everybody's competing against each other, so trying for the same piece of pie. So what I made started becoming less and less. I enjoyed household, but it got to a point I'm like, okay, I'm working harder for less money. And I used to always have to stay there again. We talk about a business. Well, I work for North American. I can only haul one load at a time. North American as a company can make their money off of volume. I can't make money off volume because I'm only one person. So I had to look at that. You know, I had to get at some point decide how feasible was that. I remember some years later after I got out of household, I saw a gentleman that ran for another moving company. And mind you, back when I first started in household, my trailer, well, the longest trailers were 45-foot trailers back then. And my trailer was a 42-foot trailer. Well, by this time, years later, I met this guy that was working for a moving company. And I was just talking to him about the moving business. And he said, oh yeah, he said he was going to hit a truckload, 53-foot trailer, loaded. And I wish I would have had a 53-foot trailer back when I was making money. Man, you would have called me Mr. Amazon. but no, he said he was going to California. I think I met him down in Alabama or something. And I said, well, how much is your line haul? He said something like $6,000 or $7,000. I looked at him. I'm like, $6,000 or $7,000? I'm like, man, back when I was doing it, my trailer was 42-foot compared to, in other words, 42-foot trailer compared to 53-foot trailer.
Yeah.
You can get a whole lot more household furniture in there.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking at him like, man, I wasn't even going to California for less than $10,000, $12,000 line haul. You know, and I had a 42-foot trailer. Here you are going there for a $7,000 line haul with a 53-foot trailer, with a much more expensive truck, with diesel fuel, a lot more money. Woo. You know, and I'm like, wow. But I don't know if he was familiar with moving back in the early 80s. So what you don't know about, you don't know about.
You'll hear a lot of guys, you know, old school truckers talking about how much money they made back in the day. And you know, newer drivers are like, what are you talking about? I mean, because like, okay, I mean, for the average guy who comes into truck driving, I mean, they're probably, like I said, they're probably used to making minimum wage. Let's say they're making 20, 30, heck, maybe even $40,000 a year.
How much?
Let's just say 40,000.
Did you say they're making minimum wage?
Well, I'm just saying. I'm saying.
Let's go back to minimum wage. Now, what is minimum wage?
I'm saying minimum wage. I said some of them. I'm saying some of them are making minimum wage, and let's say some of them, you know, are making $10
an hour.
Are making 15, 20. But so working at the factory making $40,000 a year. And all of a sudden they get into trucking. You know what I'm saying? They get into trucking, and that first year, I mean, $55,000, $60,000. You know what I'm saying? You know, let's just say. So now you've almost doubled your income. And so to an old school truck driver.
No, you haven't. Go ahead.
Well, to an old school truck driver who you know, hey, you can make $50,000, $60,000 a year, you know, 30 years ago, and you mean to tell me that, you know, so for a new guy, that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Because he's only used to making, let's say, $20,000 or $30,000. And like you said, he doesn't know any better. You know.
Well, there again, but first you said something about coming out of a factory making $40,000.
Well, I'm just throwing some numbers up. The point is, as soon as you get into trucking, a lot of times that's going to increase your income by 25, 50%. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
depending on what you were doing before trucking. For most people.
Yeah, and back when I started, it was decent money to be made. Based upon minimum wage being $2.65 an hour. Even right now, you know, people keep talking about $15 an hour as a livable wage, and in reality, you know, $15 is not a livable wage.
Right.
I mean, at $15 an hour, 40 hours a week for 2 weeks, you're barely going to bring home $31,000. If that, I'm sorry, not even bring home. You're barely going to gross. And by the time everybody takes out, you're not. It's not a livable. It's not a really. It's not. It's a kind of what say? It's better than $7 an hour by a long shot, or $7.50 or whatever minimum wage is.
Right.
But it doesn't really. I mean, obviously it raises your standard of living better than if you were making $7 an hour, but really $15 an hour. Well, if you're a single man by yourself, maybe it's sustainable, you know. But you get a family, wife, 2 kids, and car note. I mean, mean, think about it. An average apartment is what, $800-900 a month. I mean, sure, that's almost what, $10,000 just for an apartment.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about utilities and everything else, and all you're making is what, $30,000 a year or less.
Yeah.
That's before taxes.
Yeah.
So we take out roughly 25% of the taxes, $6,000. You're bringing home $24,000. So
tell me about the time or the times, you know, like if you're going back to you running your truck like running like a business. You said, you go out to California, you wouldn't accept pretty much less than 10 or 12,000, line hauls going out there. And it'd be easy to find something to go to California, but a lot of times it'd be hard to find something coming out, right?
yeah, well, at that time, California, well, I guess California's still a pretty popular state, but you had more people moving into California than moving out. And I mean, it's interesting. I used to go out there a lot, and I would look at even that Bay Area and different things like that, and I'll see how all that has grown and everything. I really, well, I guess it's a lot of parts of the country how things have grown. But anyway, yeah. So you had more people moving to California than moving out. So a lot of times we get out to California, and as a moving company, we had more trucks going in than people coming out. So, and see, I'm back again. When I said we had to have a good line haul going in, because coming out, you were not going to make as much money coming out.
Okay.
So if you don't make money going, and then coming out, you're going to have. If I could go to California and get a $12,000-13,000 line haul, you can just about bet my line haul coming out was only going to be $6,000 or $7,000.
Okay.
And a lot of times, just to kind of get the guys in and out of there, they would never give you enough to fill a truck up. So a lot of times you come out half empty.
Huh.
Yeah. But now, one of the things that often would happen is too, you'd find yourself sitting out there for a week or two, waiting on the load to come back.
Okay.
So there again, you've got a lot of time invested. Every now and then, I would actually go to California. Once I got empty, I wouldn't stay. I would actually go ahead and put fuel in the truck, and I would come on back home to Memphis empty.
You were deadhead from California all the way back to Memphis.
All the way. There again, you have to remember, less than 50 cents a gallon for fuel. I had a 290 single axle truck, and I'm not going to tell you how many miles to a gallon I got with this truck. But I'll tell you this much. I could leave Memphis, and this truck had 275-gallon fuel tanks.
All right.
150 gallons of fuel. Okay. Well, you can subtract 10% because normally you don't get them full.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm running 140 gallons of fuel. I could leave Memphis and just about make it to Albuquerque, New Mexico on 140, 50 gallons of fuel. Now, it's about 900 miles from Memphis to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, if you want to figure out what fuel mileage was at that rate,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah. So,
But it was worth it versus just sitting there for sometimes weeks at a time.
well, at the most, I might spend $200 for fuel
Okay.
to come back home from California. And yes, it was worth it, because by the time I got home, guess what? They're calling me, wanting me to go pick up some loads, going where?
Back to California.
Back to California.
And then the guys that you when you left, they're still
They're
sitting
still
there.
sitting.
Okay.
Now.
I don't know if that worked in today's economy, but or the way trucking is set up now. I'm not sure if that would work. But
Well,
I mean, back then, that actually sounds like a good business decision.
Well, and it was because you're not making any money while you're just sitting.
Right.
And a lot of times you go out there and you don't realize that you're going to sit for a week or 10 days before you get a load. But you're hoping that maybe 3 or 4 days go by and you're calling in. They don't have anything. They don't have anything. They don't have anything.
And back then, you had to call in.
Oh.
Big phones, quarters in your pocket, everything else. Huh?
Well, no, we didn't. We were lucky. We didn't have to have quarters. Most companies had 800 numbers.
Okay.
So you dial 800 number and you would call.
But if you wanted to call home,
oh well, that was a different thing. You better have a good deep pocket then.
I heard that.
But no, back then, we would. Oh my goodness, Woo, Jesus. Oh my goodness. It was something. You should have saw it. No. I mean, you go to a truck stop now and you barely see telephones in there. Back then, it looked like a telephone company. There were at least 15 to 20 payphones at a truck stop. And you go in there early in the morning, you see truck drivers lined up on these telephones. I remember one time I saw a guy on the phone, and apparently he didn't like the news he got from his dispatcher, so he's beating the heck out of the telephone. Bam, bam,
Woo.
bam. You know, like the telephone did something to him. I'm
Right.
like, wow. But yeah, you know, it was funny because a lot of times you would call your dispatcher. There again, I worked with North America, and you wouldn't always get your dispatcher. So you would leave a message for your dispatcher to call you, and the truck stops had what they called a callback number. And so we'd be sitting in the truck stops. Now, it's interesting because I think everything worked out for the truck stops to make money back then. You'd sit there, you got 15 or 20 drivers sitting around waiting on the company to call them back. So what are you doing while you're sitting there? Playing video games.
Oh, yeah.
You're sitting down in a restaurant eating, buying something.
Yep.
Or a lot of times sitting there watching television. But anyway, you're sitting there doing whatever you're doing to occupy your time, make time go by. All of a sudden you hear this page over the intercom. North American driver Rodney Williams. You have a phone call on line 12.
Oh, wow.
You know, you go up there, get on the phone, and that's the phone, it's your dispatcher. Oh, I don't have it today. Call me back this afternoon. You're like, geez. You know, next thing you know, North American driver Johnny Cochran, phone call on line 10.
Oh, wow.
You know, he gets up there and says, hey man, you get something? They told me to call back this afternoon. You know, so now you got to find out what you're going to do for the rest of the day. And really, as I think about it, it made sense because if I can spend, and there again, you're in your own business.
Right.
And so you have to invest in your business. It costs me money because I still have to make truck payments. I've got to pay insurance and I got to eat, you know, and so it's costing me money to sit in California doing nothing. So from a business standpoint, okay, do I want to spend, it's about 2,000 miles from the middle of California to Memphis. So truck is getting, pretty good fuel miles. I mean, if I can go 900 miles on a tank of fuel, 150 gallons of fuel at 50 cents a gallon, I'm less than $75. So you figure 75, 150, about $200 in fuel to get back home to Memphis. I'm home in Memphis in about 2 days. Now they calling me Monday. Hey, we got some loads for you to go pick up. Now I get home in 2 days. I'm working, making money, like you said. I go back to California, the same guys that were sitting, waiting on phone calls, they're still sitting. I'm back in California, I've made money. They're still sitting. So, don't get me wrong, I'll be honest, it was hard at first for me to do this because I'm like, do it make sense to spend that much? Because I didn't want to run empty. I want to make money.
Yep.
You know, but I guess, you know, I was telling you about the cruise lines. They Carnival salvaged 3 ships. They're older ships, but without the pandemic, had this not been the pandemic, and Carnival wanted to, they could have sold those ships for $150 million a piece.
Okay.
I don't know what they got for scrap, but obviously they get the same kind of money that they got for, you know, scrap. But they could have sold it. But because it was a business decision, because of where we at, we can't just keep losing money sitting around with these ships. And so I was losing money, so that's a business decision. I said, okay, I should have been investing more. I mean, every time I went to California, just went on and then headed back to Memphis.
Right.
You know, but there again, I was a young driver, and I enjoyed listening to a lot of the older drivers. And they would tell me, oh, I wouldn't do this because just wait, get your load, make a little bit of money. Now, one of the worst things I ever did as far as leaving California was something they call exempt commodities. Sometimes it might be raisins. Sometimes it may be walnuts. It may be prunes, dates. It was a lot of basically dried fruit. And we can sometimes pick that up. And I would take it and deliver it. And it really was not worth my time and money. It was really basically gas money.
Okay.
But it was more work involved in it than it was work.
Oh, wow.
You know, I mean, it turned out it was really cheaper and better for me to just head back to Memphis.
Okay.
Because I would pick up this fruit and I'd have to go, maybe somewhere towards the Northeast, which is even farther than Memphis.
Okay.
Then I've got to unload this stuff. I got 2 or 3 stops. So I got to deal with it. I've got to unload it all, put it on pallets and stuff like that. And I did that a couple of times because I said, well, some money is better than none.
Right.
Well, that money was not worth it. It was more beneficial to me to just spend my little $200, go drive back home to Memphis, enjoy the family, and start loading back up. But there again, you know, like anything, you know, you got a learning curve.
Right.
And you have to learn as you go. Now, sometimes I went to California, I didn't mind staying because I have family out there.
Okay.
So occasionally it'll give me a chance to spend time with them. So, there again, and that's the other thing I liked about household. Nothing was really like urgently in a hurry.
Okay.
So I got a chance to, different places I got a chance to go and sit, Chicago,
Okay.
spend time, or, you know, Memphis, California. I did a whole lot of sitting around in Texas. You know, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, I never forgot that this is a business and I'm trying to make money either.
Now, I remember you saying something one time about I don't know if it was when you first started in North America or what, but you were going somewhere in California and they wouldn't give you your advance until you got on the other side of Las Vegas, or you didn't realize what they were doing. But I guess a lot of drivers would go and spend their money in Vegas and not have.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to see what that. First, I couldn't figure out, was that a vehicle going looking forward or what? That pickup truck there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think I pretty much just started with North America, and what they did was they would there again. Let's say if I had a $10,000 line haul. As far as what I was gonna, they projected me to make They projected my line haul to be 10,000. All right. Well, they gave us a certain amount of money to use for expenses because we had to pay for fuel. We had to hire help to load and unload the trailers. You know, and so we had to do. There it is. We had expenses. Yeah, I made money, but I did have expenses that came along with it.
Okay.
So they would give us an advance on our money, on our pay, in order to cover our expenses. Well, this particular time, I had spent a little time in Sacramento. Dad was living out there at the time. And so I called, and they had the load, but the load picked up in Utah. And so I asked about my advance to make this run, right?
Well, you were in.
I was in California.
You're in California, and they wanted you to deadhead to Utah. How far was the deadhead?
Sacramento to Salt Lake City, probably 650 miles.
Woo! That was a normal thing? I mean, okay, all right.
Well, yeah.
I mean, household, I guess.
Well, there again, we're talking California.
Right, yeah.
Do you want to sit in California, or do you want to go somewhere and get some freight and get out?
All right.
Now, I probably could have sat there in California and waited another week. You know, but did that make sense?
Right.
You know, so 650 miles wasn't the norm, but to be honest with you, I didn't really factor deadhead miles because of the pay we made.
Right, yeah.
For the most part, you know, but yeah. So I was asking her about, you know, my advance, and I didn't understand what was going on. For some reason, she didn't really want to advance me any money. And so I get into Nevada, and I'm running up Nevada. I get up around, I don't know, somewhere, and I call again. She says, where you at? I tell her. She still wouldn't give it to me. So finally, when I get to Utah, she gives me my advance. And I talked to her about it, actually, what's going on. She says, well, a lot of times we get drivers to get out to Utah. Nevada. From my first time out there. And they lose a lot of money gambling. So I guess she was kind of like a mentor dispatcher as well, because she wanted to, I guess I'm a new driver and she's trying to, I guess, guide me in ways to not get into certain pitfalls. You know, and which is a good thing. And the interesting thing about it was, it's funny because I made decent money, and I'm not into gambling and things like that. I remember watching a guy one time playing blackjack. He said they're playing $100 a hand. I said, well, one day I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna play me some $100 hand.
Have you yet?
Wait a minute. So I ended up getting a loading assignment. I was going back out to California. I'm running across Interstate 80. 80 runs through Utah. I think the first place you get to is what was that little town? I can't remember. But once you leave the Salt Flats of Utah, bam, welcome to Nevada. I go into this casino. I knew I was going out there. And I had $1,000 in my pocket, $100. I said, you know what? I'm gonna take this $1,000. I'm gonna play blackjack with it. Each one of them hands, I'm gonna play $100 hand. Win, lose, show. Man, I stood there for a minute, looked at that table, looked at my money. I said, shoot, I ain't that crazy. I put my money back in my pocket, put $2 down there.
I heard that.
I was like, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry.
So your first year of driving a truck, what were some of the mistakes you made? Whether they were, driving mistakes, financial mistakes, or mechanical mistakes. I mean, I know you're a pretty mechanically inclined person. You did, whether you took mechanics in high school, and I didn't know this years later that you were, I guess, one of the top mechanical.
In our class.
Yeah, and I always saw you tinkering on the truck and cars and all that good stuff, but I just kind of thought you were cheap. I didn't realize you actually had any real knowledge.
It's not cheap. It's fruit.
Right.
There's a big difference between cheap and fruit.
And I guess by you buying that truck at that time was only maybe a couple years old. Was it on warranty? I know I saw you working on the Pete a lot, but did you ever work on the Jimmy a lot? And what were some of the major mistakes you made? And how did you start deciding that you were going to work on your truck yourself?
Ooh, mistakes. Oh my goodness! Of course, we talked a long time ago, like that was before you were born.
You ever drop a trailer your first year?
No.
Huh. Well, you guys stay hooked up to the same trailer.
Yeah, pretty much we stayed hooked up to the same trailer. I mean, I pulled 139952. That was my trailer. That was my trailer number. Told you give me a little while. I remember 13. I pulled that trailer for so long. It felt like, when I wiped my butt, I wiped that trailer. It was behind me so much. But that was 139952. That was the trailer number. Yep. So we never really dropped it. We stayed hooked up to the trailer all the time. So no, dropping the trailer was never an issue. The only two things I had a problem with on that truck. I think one was a fan clutch went out. What happened was when I bought the truck from North America, they did provide you with a warranty. It was a very long warranty, probably 90 days, I'm thinking.
Wow.
But they gave you a warranty, so anything that broke down or you found anything that needed repairing, they were going to fix it. They supposedly worked on the air conditioning a couple of times. It worked for a while, stopped working. Seemed like I never get that thing to work.
I like the same thing with the Pete.
Yeah, well, occasionally I got that to work again, but now I will tell you this much. You asked me that question. There was nothing I think that I did when I first started out that was wrong. I really don't. Now, the only thing, as I said before, I was making good money. I mean, of course, I'm making money like I have never made.
Right.
But I did know where the bank was.
Yeah.
I didn't need money to go out trying to impress anybody. This and that, so on and so on. But the one thing that I wish I had known and had done better. You remember I told you about that fuel surcharge, 21%?
Yeah.
Back in the early 80s, interest rates were extremely high. There was nothing for a person to go out and buy a car. You haven't bought a car in a while, but typically speaking, if you go out and buy a car now, you're probably looking at a brand new car, less than 5% interest. Back in 81, if you went out and bought a car, no, 18, 19, 20%.
Oh wow, that's with good credit.
That's with good credit.
Wow.
18, 19, 21% interest. People were buying houses and the interest rates were up to 18, 19%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4%. So, and I'm saying that to say this. You have a savings account. Does it pay you interest?
Very little.
Well, okay. 0.025%.
Right. Not enough. You probably actually lose more money than
Right.
you're gonna talk to.
All right. Now, in 81, every bank paid interest on your savings account. Guess what the interest rate was?
10%? 5%, okay.
They paid you 5% interest. Okay? Now, I found out about CDs a little bit later.
Okay.
And at that time, CDs were paying 21% interest.
Oh wow.
Now, I knew that 21% was more than 5%. I did know that much, you know. But a lot of things I didn't understand about that. What I didn't understand was I invested a little money into CDs at 21% interest for I think it was like 18, maybe 24 months. I went the minimum that I could. If I had known then what I know now, if I could have put it there for 40 years, I'd have put it there for 40 years.
Okay.
I didn't know how money worked because never had any, didn't have anybody to have any to tell me anything.
Right.
But later on, I come to find out about this rule of, I don't know if it's 72 or rule 78, which is you take the interest rate and you divide it. How do you do it? You take the interest rate and you divide it into 72 or 78, and that tells you how long it takes for your money to double. And so I didn't know that. But so when you ask about early on mistakes, I really do not know of any. I think everything I did, obviously, I got sick the first year. I was able to recoup from that. I was able to pay off. Matter of fact, honestly, I could have paid them back that money just in the little money I had saved in the little time I worked.
Okay.
So I wasn't really ever worried about losing the truck. I was determined I was not going to lose that truck.
Right.
I was determined I'm going to pay that truck off. Yeah. So that was never a doubt in my mind. People told me, oh, you're not going to get it paid for, and once you start getting down with paper, North America's going to slow your freight down, they're going to slow down your work, and you're going to end up losing paper. Well, that wasn't what happened to me.
Right, okay.
I think, unfortunately, like I said, too many guys thought it was BJ and the Bear. They thought they could go out there and have all this money, and they're more interested in the women.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, okay.
Speaking of women,
Women.
Speaking of women, out there on the road in North America, you know, especially during the time 80s, whatever. Was there ever any time where you, I don't know, were hauling someone's furniture, and you know, let's say you know whoever's furniture you're hauling was a young lady or you know, or something like that, and you know, maybe she took interest in you or you took interest in her, or you know, because you were, you know, in that field, like I said, you're interacting with the customer a lot more versus just doing commodities and regular freight.
Right.
And all that good stuff.
And I mean, like I said, you gotta try to make people feel comfortable because you're moving their furniture and they're concerned about their values. You know, these are things that people spend a lot of money on, they spend a lot of time trying to protect. Now they're turning over all their prized possessions, except for their children, over to a total stranger.
Right.
You know, and you know, you're like, oh wow, you know, I hope he takes care of this. I hope he, you know, doesn't tear it up because it's not his, and all sorts of things. And then again, like I say, you moving from one part of the country to another part of the country, that, you know, moving is stressful. I don't care how you do it, how it worked out, it's still stressful. You know, I had an uncle one time, he's, of course, he's gone now, and he used to always say, you can't mix business with pleasure. And, you know, I mean, I don't know, I guess I don't know, whatever, however. But, yeah, I mean, I've had my little moments with some female customers that were a little friendlier than others. You know, but I always had, to me.
So BJ and the Bear.
No, not BJ and the Bear. But I always have to remember, this is a business I'm operating.
Right.
And not only do I have to provide the customer with a service, but also I'm beholden to North America because I got to make sure that they get their money as well as I get mine.
Okay.
So you know, I've had times like I delivered some furniture. I can't remember where I delivered places all over the place, but I do remember this one particular time, one of the client's customers' daughter. I could tell she was hitting on me because I'm in the truck doing different things, and she's out there the whole time talking to me, trying to find out where am I going tonight, where we're gonna be at, what I like, this and that, you know, and everything. I know she was trying to flirt, you know, but I was polite and I talked to her, but I just didn't see mixing business with pleasure. I remember one lady we moved out of Florida up to Virginia, and she was a flight attendant for over airline called Pan Am at the time.
Okay.
I remember when we first came to move our furniture, we ran into a bit of a dilemma. She had thought that we were going to load her furniture, because a lot of times we loaded more than just one person's furniture on the trailer.
Right.
Sometimes we have 4, 5, 6 families on a trailer. She was thinking, this was like on a Friday, she was thinking that I was going to load her furniture up, and Monday morning I was going to be in Virginia delivering her furniture. And I told her, I said, ma'am, no, that's not going to happen. I said, you're my first shipment. I have other shipments I've got to pick up this weekend and next week. And of course, I guess she was a flight attendant, so I don't know when she had to leave or fly back out or whatever.
Right.
And so she was really, really wanting to get her furniture up there soon. And well, what happened was she says, well, can I pay you to take my furniture up there? So what do you mean? She says, instead of going through your company, can you just take my furniture and I'll pay you, you know, what I was going to pay them.
Right.
You know, I'm like, we're going to cut out the middleman. And I'm like, as tempted as it sounded, I told her, no, ma'am, I can't do that.
Right.
Because there again, what if something happened?
Yeah.
And, you know, then like I said, I thought, so on top of that, you owe my company money because some of the people came out and packed.
Yeah.
She said, well, I'll pay for the packing and so and so, so and so. You know, I'm like, no. I said, because if something happens, then how am I going to be covered? You can call in and say, oh, he delivered my furniture, so and so, so and so, so and so. And then they're going to be looking at me like, yes, I can deliver your furniture. I can get back down here to Florida and finish doing what I got to do. You know, but if something happens, they're going to be wanting to know, okay, what am I doing? Trying to cut them out, you know, so forth and so on. And now I'm moving furniture under their authority, but I'm not under their contract.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, but I did make her one promise. I told her, look, as soon as I get finished loading in Florida, I will leave her and I will drive as quickly and as fast as I can to deliver your furniture. I said, as soon as I get into Virginia, I will deliver. And she lived in an apartment complex. And we got there late in the evening. And we delivered her furniture to her. It was interesting because she started showing us her photo album. And I guess the picture was funny. The picture was her in her underwear. And I saw the picture, but I flipped the page. And she flipped back. Oh, I wasn't meaning for you to see that.
You said you flipped back?
Yeah, she flipped back. Oh, I wasn't meaning for you to see that. I'm like, okay, I saw it, but you know, I didn't make no big deal. I flipped on.
Right.
Obviously, she wanted to point it out. And she actually offered for me to spend the night. And I turned in, you know, this is a business.
Right.
And I didn't feel comfortable with that. I thought I appreciated it. I thought I've got to be so-and-so next day, which I had nowhere to go because I really delivered hers early as a favor to her. You know, but I just didn't think it was a prudent thing to spend the night in my client's customer's home. You know, and so when you asked me earlier, were there any big mistakes? No, because I live a lifestyle that, you know, you have to be careful what you're doing. Things seem too good to be true. Usually they are. So, you know, if you try to get something for nothing, that's usually what you end up with. So, you know, it's not that I just like to be careful. I think one time you asked me something about your grandmother, some money in the church. And I told your grandmother I didn't think it was a good idea. And you said, Dad, why you always look at things as negative? No, it's not important to be negative. It's just that, you know, you want to cross your T's and dot your I's. I mean, it's, you know, you don't want to fall out with your church because you lost money investing with it. Certain things you just shouldn't cross.
Right.
You know, and I just didn't think that was a good idea.
So what were your two most memorable loads with North America? I know we spent a lot of time with North America. Probably had to do, you know, a several-part series here, but you know, it's your first couple of years of trucking, so it kind of set the groundwork or the tone for the rest of your career, however, on and off the woods. You know, so what were your two most memorable loads at North America? You know, maybe one the worst and one the most memorable, like maybe in a good way or something.
Okay, my two worst loads in North America, and actually I'm not. You say two worst?
Well, no. What was your worst and what was your best? Kind of like, you know, memorable in a good way and memorable in a bad way.
Okay. All right. Well, I actually it's kind of like I have three.
Okay. Well,
loads that I'm kind of. Well, there's three that kind of. There's a couple of them that stick out of my mind. Obviously, so I'm dealing with females as far as their attraction towards me.
Okay.
But those are not what I call the most memorable ones. One of the first memorable loads that I had, and what had happened was, I was pretty loose in this moving business, and I had hired a crew to work with me.
Okay.
And so the guy was like, "Hey, tell you what, you go ahead and do inventory, and we'll load the truck for you." I said, "Really?" "Yeah." Okay. And every now and then you would run across guys that, you know, knew how to load the truck.
Right.
Other than just, you know, being a part of the crew bringing furniture out. Alright, so these guys were loading the truck. I was like, man, they were loading super fast, boom, 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 boom. I was like, oh, okay. So, my friend Paul was working with me at the time.
Okay.
And after we finished loading, this was in the Dallas area, we had to go out to California. And it was funny, we got to California, and the guy whose furniture we had loaded, Paul saw him. Paul said, man, we weren't looking for him that particular day, but
yeah,
we were going to call him the next day, or we were going to call him that night to let him know we were coming to deliver stuff. And he saw us, and he recognized us, and we were chit-chatting. So we, you know, got, you know, directions to his house, but we didn't have GPS back then.
Right.
You know, either you had a map or you called to get directions or something. So he was giving me directions on how to find his house and everything else. So we got there the next day. Man, so much of his furniture was so broken and torn. I was like, oh my God. I mean, I felt really bad. And these were the guys that they were just loading the truck because they didn't care.
Right.
You know, and I felt really bad about that. So what happened was the guy said, man, you can't trust us to load the truck. You've got to load it yourself.
Who said that to you? The customer?
This was other drivers.
Okay.
Other older drivers that were in household.
Yeah.
So that was a big lesson. Now, over a period of time, as I drove and I got to know different guys that worked in different areas, there were some that I could trust to load the truck for.
Okay.
And I got to know them, and I would have their numbers, and I would call them, things like that. But yeah, so that was one that really, really, really got me.
Okay.
Now, another load that really got me, and this was somewhere in Georgia. And this guy was I'm assuming he was an officer in the military. And we were moving his furniture from, I don't remember if it was from, I know he was in Georgia at the time, I don't know why, but I don't know if I moved him to Colorado or if I moved him to California.
Okay.
But wherever I moved him to, I remember I said that he said, well, if you get there before so-and-so is going into storage, if you get there after so-and-so, it's going to go to my house.
Okay.
I was determined I didn't want to see this man again. Well, no, that wasn't him, I'm sorry. But there was one like that. But this particular man I'm talking about, I moved him first to his house.
This car's coming back up.
Huh?
This car's coming back up.
Yeah, they do that. You'll pass them, and for some reason, all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, let me speed up," you know. Yeah. Let them bother me. I mean, heck, I'm just driving. I'm not in a race. This is why it's not against them. That's kind, but not against them. You know. But anyway, this guy was he was an officer in the military. He was moving wherever he was moving to. This man rolled my butt about everything.
Then they're slowing back down.
I get that a lot. You know, he rolled my butt about everything. Did you label this? Did you do this? Did you this? Did you that? And I'm like, are you really serious? This man, this was the one house I got there early in the morning. I did not leave until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to load that truck.
Wow.
This guy got on my nerves so bad. Bragged me about everything. Now I'm saying this to you because here goes the Clevite of it. When I got his furniture to wherever he was moving to, this guy told me, he said, you know what? This is the best move I've ever had during the time he had been in the military. Yes, I was tired. Yes, I was exhausted. Yes, I was deterred in moving him. But the satisfaction I got out of him telling me that was the best move he'd ever had. So one of my first moves, the amount of furniture that was damaged, it disturbed me, it bothered me. His move, because he really got on my nerves, every box, everything, he questioned everything. But at the end, he was very satisfied with the move.
They say he was an officer?
He was in the military.
You know, so you've moved military people several times before.
I have.
You can, a lot of times you can tell the difference between moving an officer and moving the enlisted. Now
I'm gonna yell, and this guy, even at some point, the transportation officer came out there, and I'm like, this man is getting on my nerves. I'm like this and that. I'm like, you know, I mean, this is just awesome. But now, I told you I was gonna tell you about 3 moves. My worst one was the one that so much furniture got damaged. I was disturbed by that.
Alright.
This one here, because this guy rolled my butt about every little thing, this and that. Matter of fact, I really thought he was prejudiced, to be honest with you, for a while now. You know, and I'm thinking maybe he needs a white guy to come with him. But like I say, I was really pleased.
I mean, it was Georgia, and it was in the early 80s.
Right. But I was really pleased because he was so pleased with the move.
Okay.
When we got to the other end. Nothing was damaged, nothing was broken, nothing was scratched. You know, he was really happy. And I was proud of that. Now, the other one that stands out to me as memorable, and I really don't remember a lot about it, it was my last household move with North America.
Okay.
My cousin, friend, Andre was working with me at the time. And I told Andre, I said, Andre, this is it. This is my last move with North America. I said, let's go in here, throw the stuff on the truck, and go. I don't care how it gets loaded. I don't care how it gets on the truck. I said, we just gonna get it here and get it on and go. We get to the house. I pulled Andre to the side. I said, Andre, we're gonna take our time and do it. He said, I know it. I knew you weren't gonna do that. He said, I knew, because I know you. You take pride in what you do. You know, I said, this guy deserves the same consideration that everybody else. I always told people, I treat your furniture better than I treat my own. Because my furniture, I don't have to replace. If I break yours, I got to replace it. So I treat your furniture better than I do my own.
Did they laugh when you say that? You know, because your humor probably was funny in the 80s. You know?
Well, no, that's what I would tell people sometimes when they were concerned.
Right. But I'm talking about the part about, you know, you don't have to replace their furniture, but you have to replace theirs. Well, I know North America, they would take certain claims it would come out of your pay.
A small amount.
Okay.
So I didn't want anything, but then I enjoyed doing it. But my satisfaction was people sometimes gave me nice little tips, and I appreciated that. But above all that, the biggest thing I liked was when people thanked me for a job well done.
Okay.
You know, because I would get paid good money anyway. You know, and I was most proud of being thanked for a job well done because I did my best to do the best I could.
What do you say? One time, North America, I guess they have tiers of drivers or whatever.
And top was Vanguard. Never could make Vanguard.
Oh, never could make Vanguard?
No.
But, and so what, one time they had a customer that requested that, they told you to throw on the Vanguard shirt, go to work?
Or something, yeah.
Well, something like that, something to that nature.
Yeah, something they told me. Yeah, they requested a Vanguard driver, you know. But what I found out about a lot of Vanguard drivers was they would pay claims right then and there to keep from, you know, things from being, you know, put on. But I had a decent enough rating with them. But I got one other move you actually were talking about that kind of stands out to me. Now, this was a guy in the military as well. Black man. Moving from Fort Waxahachie, Arizona, to the Norfolk, Virginia beach area.
Okay.
Told me he was going out to Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Virginia, to become a state trooper. And we loaded up his furniture and everything, and he asked to look at the inventory. We make inventory of everything that, you know, we pack, load. And so when he looked at the inventory sheets, he asked, would you mind if there are certain boxes that are highlighted? So I said, sir? He says, well, certain one of my boxes have electronic equipment, cameras, whatever. And I want to make sure that these are noted so I know what's in them. I said, well, he's moved many times in the military and he's probably concerned about these things. So he wants to make sure that they're on the inventory and that if something happens, you know, no. Okay, I think about it.
Yeah.
So move his furniture and I took it to a warehouse out there in Virginia Beach. And thinking about nothing else, unloaded, reloaded, ended up going to the West Coast, up in the Northwest, Seattle, Oregon, area like that. I get out there and there's a few military bases on the Northeast. And so I ended up reloading up there, going right back to Virginia Beach.
Okay.
That was kind of odd because that doesn't usually happen, but I didn't think much about it.
Right.
Well, it wasn't as odd. It was odd, but it was odd to me for a reason. Apparently, North American planned that. And what happened was, when I got back to Virginia Beach, an officer from the transportation office came to meet me and talked to me. And he talked to me about this one move with the guy that moved from North Carolina. I mean, not from Carolina, from Arizona.
Yeah.
Or Waxahachie or something.
Yeah.
And he's saying that the guy, when he got his furniture and all, he said he had stuff missing.
Oh, wow.
Okay. He said, and most of the stuff he had missing was what was highlighted on my inventory sheets. This stuff was in boxes. Okay. And he said that the guy had talked to me, and I had told the guy that on my way to Virginia I was going to go home. And the guy apparently told me I lived in New York. I told him, I said, I did go home, but I live in Memphis.
Right.
So going from Arizona to Virginia, I went through Memphis home. He says, he said, you said you live in New York. No, I don't live in New York. Like that. He said, and he pointed out certain things that was missing. Everything that was missing was the things that he highlighted. I said, well, I have access to almost every shipment on the truck because we have various doors. Sometimes we have to unload in a different order than when we load. It's like that. He says, well, this really isn't about you. He said, what's happened is this guy has made moves before, and a lot of the stuff that he's claiming are the same things that he claimed on the previous move.
Wow. Okay. So were you talking to the transportation officer, or were you talking to CID?
Well, I'm assuming it was the transportation officer. I mean, this been years ago. But we generally spoke to the people in transportation.
Okay,
because the transportation officer,
they keep up with it. Okay.
The booth.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was telling me about. He said, yeah, the guy claims that you tore his sofa. I said, tore his sofa? He said, yeah. I tore it where? He said, oh, you know how you move the cushions there and you get down in between the cushions? I said, huh? He said, yeah. He's claiming. I'm like, are you serious? You know, he said, don't worry about it. You know, and I was so glad. I didn't deliver the furniture to his house. I delivered it to a warehouse. So I had a, you know, it was like in between me and him. Yeah. So it wasn't just all on me. Yeah. You know, and he said, no, we're not really, we just wanted to hear your side of the story because we, like I said, we're going to investigate him because, like I said, a lot of stuff he claimed was some of the same stuff that he claimed on his move from Germany. Right. You know, I said, I'd be doggone. This man talking about going to be a state trooper. You know. So that was, so if you ask me, so those would probably be like my 4 most memorable moves. Okay. 3, let's see. Well, the first one that so much stuff got damaged. The officer that, you know, we wore me out unloading that furniture, left 3 hours in the morning, 2 o'clock in the freaking morning. I was so tired, I couldn't even drive. I just had to get somewhere and just stop. And of course, this gentleman here. And of course, the last one that I made. So there was 4 of them, you know. The last one was because my attitude was like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw this stuff on the truck and I'm going. No matter how much get damaged, because I only have to pay so much. And I really appreciate Andre looking at me like, Rock, I knew that you was just whatever you were. And I knew you weren't gonna just do this. I've been around you too long. You know. So all right, so when you were still with North America when you got into boot, and we'll get to that later, when you got into the truck accident or no? Or excuse me, when the jackknife or whatever. Yes, that was and that was leading up to my last run with North America. Okay. Yeah, that was when I still had the GMC Astro, and I remember coming out of Amarillo, Texas. All right. And we got up there in the Panhandle, 287, Highway 287, and I don't know, the road had been recently paved. All of a sudden it started raining, the wind came up. Next thing I know, that truck broke traction and it got into a tough jackknife. You know, and it bent the frame on the truck, and I knew the truck was totally out. Now, of course, remember earlier I told you this is during the time that deregulation that came in. All of a sudden we're hauling freight with discount for 50%. Right. I had to determine whether or not I wanted to buy another truck. And I wasn't comfortable with the way things were going with the rate cut to go out and spend $80,000 and $90,000 on a truck. And I'm making half as much money as I used to. So I decided at that point I would make that one of my last runs. Okay. So that's pretty much where that came in. So that was the same run. It was, well, actually, it wasn't the same run because I was on the way to California. I had to go to Arizona. I think I had to go to Colorado. From Colorado, I was going on into California. All right. So I had to finish that run, but it was the last run coming out of California, coming back. Right. So that was next to my last run. Okay. You Yeah.
And but the truck was still drivable, so but you
No,
didn't make it.
no,
You had to
no.
get a renter truck.
What happened was, I was hoping that North American was going to get another driver in there to finish the run.
Okay.
And I stayed in a hotel for a couple of days. And I realized that they either weren't or couldn't or whatever. And so I asked them, I said, well, I'll tell you what, how about if I come back to Fort Wayne and I get a rental truck from you all and I finish the run? And they said, okay, fine. Woo! So I ended up catching Greyhound. Yeah. And right there in Pamper, I called Greyhound down to Amarillo. Changed buses in Amarillo. Came to Memphis. Continued on to Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yeah, I know, right, on the bus. Went there, got a tractor. It was a tandem axle tractor, and ended up driving all the way, bobtailing, all the way back to Pampa, Texas, to go get that trailer and finish that run. Fortunately, very.
He flashed his lights for you. He flashed his lights for you.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's a disruptor over there.
Yeah.
You know, drivers don't do it as much anymore, so.
Yeah.
To let you know you can get over and order, say thank you.
Yeah. No, I've got this little right on this button on the side does that.
All right.
Yeah. But so very little furniture. I don't think any furniture was damaged from the accident. To be honest with you. So I did that, and of course it cost me to rent the truck and everything. But I finished the run, got another run coming out of there, and they actually reloaded pretty quick so that I wouldn't have to have that truck sitting paying for it like that.
Yeah.
So, and they asked me when I processed out, what would make me stay. I don't know, because it's just the environment of the discounts now.
Yeah.
When I first started, only discounts went to maybe national accounts, and they got 10 or 20% discount. Now all of a sudden everybody, the mama got 50% discount. And I'm like, mathematically, it made no sense to me.
Right.
That I'm paying more money. My output is more, but my income is less. Fuel was costing more, trucks cost more, labor was more, everything was more but the pay. And I'm like, dang, so I've got to do the same amount of work for half as much money.
Yeah.
Isn't it that?
So you mentioned a couple of times about you had some close friends that rode with you and helped you out when you were on the road.
Yes.
You mentioned Andre and Paul.
Andre and Paul, yes.
All right. I think I vaguely remember, both of them. Tell me how that came to be. Who'd you start working with first, and how did that come to be, and what was that? What was that deal?
First.
Because they weren't drivers.
No, they weren't drivers.
They were just there to help you.
Help me load and unload the cars.
Okay.
Yeah. First person was Paul. Paul's my best friend, brother, whatever. I've known all my life.
That's funny. My best friend's name was Paul.
Yeah, I've known him all my life. Our families have been friends, known each other long before either one of us was born, and everything. I don't remember what Paul was or was not doing at the time, but originally, I was out there by myself, hiring people in different places. And, I really don't remember how it is that he ended up working for me, with me, however. And it's kind of interesting because I think he helped me a lot as far as bringing furniture and stuff like that, but he never learned how to load the furniture. And I remember I actually paid him more than anybody else because he was really my friend.
Yeah.
And what I did was I paid him a set salary. I paid him $200. And I mean, it don't sound like much now.
Right.
Go back. Yeah. A lot of drivers were telling me, "Oh, you're paying them too much." And what about when you guys are sitting and not doing anything, this and that? I said, well, when we're sitting, he still, to me, should be getting paid for his time.
Yeah.
Because he's away from home. And it's not his fault that we're not working. I said, now I can hire people in different places, and in the long run, it might cost me less. But with him with me, it made it a lot more convenient.
Right.
So I don't have to worry about always trying to find some help. Sometimes maybe like the time when we delivered that shipment late in the evening, I didn't have to worry about finding somebody because he was with them.
Right.
You know.
And it is nice to have somebody with you trust.
Yeah, it was, you know. And I think my friend of mine's named Earl, worked with me for a while. My daughter's Sante's uncle, Junior, he worked with me one summer. I was trying to give him a little money to make over the summer, you know.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, I think Andre was one of the last people to work with me. And Andre, I actually started him out at less money than I was paying for. And Andre was interesting. He was a hard worker. I remember one time we were in Maryland, and this truck stop up there had a nice bar. And Andre started drinking. I told Andre, I said, Andre, you might need to wait a little bit before you get to drinking. I said, because if I can get in touch with the shipper, the next day was a Saturday.
Yeah.
If I can get in touch with the shipper and they'll take it, I'm going to deliver that furniture that Saturday. And I was able to get in touch with her again. This was payphones, so we didn't have cell phones and all that good stuff back in those days. So you had to call people. But they weren't at home because what? They weren't in the house because I had all the furniture.
Right, yeah.
You know, so it was several numbers. I'd have contact numbers to try and catch them. But I was able to catch them, and they were like, oh yeah, come on. Well, by this time, Andre has been drinking Jack Daniels and beer. Gypsy as he want to be. Oh, the next morning, Andre had one heck of a hangover, sick as a dog. But guess what? He worked. Sick as a dog, but he worked. I had to give him his accolades for that one. No, I told him, I said, son, I kept trying to, I kept telling you, I said, if I can get in touch with this person, we're going to deliver the furniture, you know, and everything. I guess you thought it wasn't going to happen. But I did appreciate the fact that he worked. He threw up a couple of times, but he worked. And so, as time went by, Andre kept telling me, he said, well, right now, I want to make more money. I said, well, you know, when you start making more money, you generally have to assume more responsibility. So he took on the responsibility of maintaining the trailer. When I say maintaining the trailer, he would make sure the pads were folded, because there had a lot of furniture pads. He'd make sure the trailer was swept out and everything was in order in the trailer. Okay? So then later he came to me again. I want to make more money. I said, well, again, you want to make more money, it comes with more responsibility. So he said, okay, well, I want to learn how to start loading. So he started loading. So there again, I paid him more money because the more responsibility he took on, the more it took off of me. So yes, you're more valuable at this time, you know. And he worked with me up until I left North America.
Okay.
You know, we had some pretty good times together. So yeah, Paul, like I say, he made more, but because he had been around me for so long, we grew up like brother. You know, I guess that's why I say a lot of times it's not good to go into business with family and friends.
Oh, yeah.
You tend to let them get away with things that you may not let other people get away with.
What was that like for you when you first started trucking and realizing I am bumping up and down the road, sleeping in this, at the time, very, very small sleeper? What was that thing about?
Well, interesting enough, I remember after I had finished training in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And they had assigned us our truck. We had our trucks, we had our trailers, we had our load assignments, and we were leaving out on our own to go become North American household goods movers. There was a show that used to come on TV around that time called The Greatest American Hero. And they had a theme song. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this. I can't believe that, so on and so on. And I'm sitting there driving off the parking lot in Fort Wayne, Indiana, not believing I'm in this truck. About to start driving trucks for a living, and this lifestyle change. You know, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Now, mind you, it took a while to get used to sleeping in the truck because at first I was staying in hotels all the time.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah.
You were staying in hotels all not cheating you.
Yeah.
Wow. They probably weren't very expensive hotels.
Well, no, it was Motel 6. They were like $12.95 a night at that time or something. But yeah, so a lot of times I wasn't comfortable sleeping in the truck, so I stayed in hotels. And Motel 6 was pretty reasonable at that time. It was like about everywhere you went. I think at that time, I don't care what Motel 6 you stayed in, it was $12.50, $12.95.
I'm sorry. I don't know if it's because I pulled doubles or what, but I mean, I know you got more years experience of driving trucks
what happened?
in your opinion than that.
Did something happen that I missed back there?
Ooh, that curve you took was kind of that was too fast for me. I mean, maybe.
Oh, did I?
Maybe. I guess.
Did I go through a curve?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, did I? Oh. You'd have to show it to
See,
me.
look, so now, wait, I'm thinking like,
You'll have
now
to
look,
show it
now
to me.
I don't feel so bad about being scared on them hills and mountains and up in Maine and Canada and all that good stuff now, because you do take curves fast.
I what?
Well, yes, you do take curves fast.
I take curves fast?
Oh, you take curves fast, faster than I would ever take them.
What curve? Was there a curve somewhere?
All right, anyway, so, what were you?
You mean that little turn?
Oh yeah, the one with the recommended speed of 45 miles an hour.
I didn't read that. I thought that was just because of some construction zone. Was that actually, that wasn't because of the construction?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you should know on them sides, so.
Well, let's see here. This one say, well, this one ain't got one, but.
It's gonna say it's an exit. What? Did I miss another sign or something? Did I miss another sign or something?
Goodness gracious.
Huh?
Alright. I'm alright. I guess I just don't have the guts to take curves that fast, but that, you know, I'm not knocking your driving whatsoever. Like I said, you got more experience in your pinky finger than I do in my whole body.
Experience. No, it's not about experience. First of all, you have to remember how many times I come through here.
Oh yeah, that's.
I mean, I know the curves. I mean, like I say, Highway 63. I used to run it like I did them curves in Maine.
Uh-huh.
In
Pennsylvania?
No, it was in upstate New York going into Massachusetts.
Okay.
And the one in Virginia. But I don't run it like that now because I don't run it that often.
Yeah.
And at nighttime I can't see as well.
Okay.
So now at daytime I go through. I think it's pretty okay.
Yeah.
You know, but at nighttime, now I don't know if you remember the curves coming through here this morning.
Probably not.
Okay, because this gets kind of.
Well, it was daytime too. You know, everything's like going faster at nighttime. I mean,
Okay.
I be chugging along at 65 miles an hour. I feel like I'm really doing something at nighttime.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Oh, okay.
What were you saying?
I'm gonna have to look for that 45 miles outside. I'm gonna take a picture and send it to you. Yeah, I'll take a picture and send it to you.
So yeah, you should.
I mean, the curve was smooth, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was smooth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't do any hard braking in it, did I?
No, you didn't. That's when people make the mistake at a lot of times.
We didn't break any wine bottles, did we?
No. I mean, I probably would have been downshifting, breaking everything else, but you know, not in the curve, but before I got to the curve. All right, so your first year, you said, you know, what were you? You were like, okay, you know, it took a while for you to get used to sleeping in a truck. You were sleeping in a hotel for a while.
After a while, it was interesting. Paul and I, we ended up going down to Florida. Staying in hotels in Florida again. You know, hotels weren't that expensive.
Right.
I mean,
oh, so Paul hit the road with you almost right away.
Not almost right away, but shortly thereafter, really, because I think the first one of my loads really I picked up in the Chicago area. Matter of fact, I don't know, is that like a McHenry, Illinois or something like that?
McKinley and McHenry.
McHenry.
Yeah. Okay.
That's north of Chicago.
All right.
I kind of remember one of my first loads being in either McHenry, Illinois or something. So most of my loads were in that area. And I think I ended up coming back to Memphis, and Paul decided that he wanted to come to work with me.
All right.
You know, and so he did, and he enjoyed it. We traveled and got around in different places and everything. Yeah, these are the little curves here. I don't know, probably the safe a little bit more curvy on the other side than
Oh
here.
yeah.
And I've often wondered, you know, why did they build this like this?
Right.
But it is what it is. You know. Yep. But yeah, so after a while we went down to Florida and we stayed in hotels down there. But then after a while I said, you know what? This is costing me money. And so we had to learn how to sleep head to toe.
Oh wow, and that
Yeah.
and that 36 inch.
Well, you know that, you know what? I had thought about getting the International at the time, but I noticed that the GMC did have a slightly wider sleeper than the International. That's really what made me get the GMC, and we were comfortable. I mean, he slept on his side, I slept on my side. We were good.
Right on. Well, I mean, I guess it's no different because tell me about the tell me about the truck stop showers back then.
Woo! Truck stop showers. Well,
They weren't as nice as they were now.
no, just like all you needed was a water hose, a towel, and some soap. I mean, a lot of them looked like gang showers. A lot of them were just really nasty and dirty. Some of them, they were just in there and you had like a shower curtain separating them. Some of them were so nasty that you probably felt dirtier taking a shower than you did before you took a shower. You know.
So when people talk about the good old days, the good old bad days.
Yeah, water hose and soap would have probably been better at times. You know, but as time went by, they started getting better, and they 76 and TAs really did improve truck stops for truckers.
Okay.
Showers, they started, you know, getting individual showers, and they had people that were cleaning them and things like that.
Oh, look at that Ferrari.
Is that a Ferrari?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so believe me, the showers have come a long way, and woo, I mean, man, I don't know what they charge for a shower now, but back then, you paid like $4 or $5 for a shower.
Now he doesn't know what they charge for a shower because he's usually home every night, or every other night.
Yeah. Well, there again too, every now and then I buy a few, but usually I'm back home. I really don't know what they charge for showers.
I want to say $26 and $10.
I think it's more than that. I'm thinking 12 and 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I mean, if you buy fuel, most times you get it.
Yeah, but I'm thinking 12 and 15.
Huh.
That's what I'm thinking.
Wow.
I can't swear to it because I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, you think about it, you do that every day. Well, you say you can tell a stinky trucker by a rich trucker by a stinky trucker, huh?
You know. So, but all in all, I enjoyed my younger years out here. I enjoyed, you know, traveling across different parts of the country, seeing different parts of the country, meeting different people. You know, it's a lifestyle, and it's not for everybody. And I really was not big on encouraging people to do it either. You know, I mean, I know one of my nephews wanted to get into trucking, and I asked him why. He said, "Cause you do it." I said, "No, you young man, you got a wife. That's a cruel joke to play on her. You being at home all the time, and now you talking about being gone." I said, "That just isn't gonna work."
Speaking about being gone, what was the longest time you spent away from home and that was with North America, right?
Yes. 2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
How did that happen? I mean, I know you weren't expecting it.
I have no idea. Even to this day, it made no sense to me. I don't know. It just happened. I generally did not stay gone that long, and sometimes I might stay gone long. I'm not sure what happened because there was never a reason that I couldn't come home or come through home or whatever. I mean, there were many times I've diverted from where I'm at to come home. You know, I remember that 2 months. I can't believe it, but yes, I did, and Would I do it again? No, I don't even try to be gone for a week unless I'm on the cruise now. You know. So that's too much. But I guess it was working. I was used to it, and so I didn't give it a whole lot of thought. It wasn't anything I planned. It wasn't anything I paid attention to. It just sort of happened. And obviously, there wasn't anything at home that I had planned to do, because if it had been, I would have been home.
Right.
I wouldn't have been there. I'm still thinking about that 45-mile-an-hour curve you were telling me about. I'm like, wow. I'm like,
I mean, I mean, you know, I guess my driving style is just a little different. I mean, obviously sometimes I don't have a choice. Choice I drive a lot slower. But when I and like you said, it comes a lot with, you know, with what curves you're familiar with. You know, in North Carolina, I was familiar with all those curves, and I would set the cruise, and I never hit the brakes at all. You know,
and that's what I go out to parts of North Carolina, South Carolina now, and I don't know the area.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and so I am a lot slower. I am a lot more cautious in different things because I don't know the area. You know, like they say, when you're in your own backyard, you play different. But when you're somebody else's backyard, you play careful, more careful. So that's how I am. I mean, you know, I run this route quite often, and like I say, I know about the construction back there. I know about the curves. I know about, you know, different things. I know that once you get there, you're gonna lose a couple lanes. I know where you're gonna gain some lanes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all these things come into play.
So what would you say? What would you say the difference between, I guess, truck drivers now and truck drivers when you first started, or is there a difference? I mean, because you hear a lot of people talk about, you know, there's more inexperienced drivers on the road, and you know, truck ain't what it used to be.
You know, when that has always been one of my pet peeves. When people talk about inexperienced drivers, everyone has to start somewhere. I mean, plain and simple. Now, I think when you say a lot of inexperienced drivers, I think what you're saying are, you've got a lot of drivers that are not professional drivers. It has nothing to do with experience. It has to do with, are you a professional driver? I sit here and I watch drivers sometimes change lanes without using the turn signal. You know, and
like
I'm like, okay. And that's a pet peeve to me, because I think at the very least, as a professional driver, so-called professional driver, that's what, you know, your professionalism is on display. So, you know, sometimes, you know, people do things you can't allow yourself to get upset over. Why? Because you may do something that you tend to regret. So I don't, inexperience or experience is not the thing. It's just the temperament of people that's told now. People don't have, you know, and I'm not sure that truck drivers are as likely to help each other now as they used to. Maybe it's not, part of it could be we run on this clock that doesn't allow you to. Then the other part could be we live in a society that you don't know if you pull it over to help somebody that's out to hurt you. So I guess as times have changed, everything changes. You know, everything changes. So
I think one of my personal opinions about that is, well, what's one thing you noticed from when you first started to now? There's a lot more, vehicles on the road, including truck traffic. I mean, it used to be one time you drive down the road at 10, 12 o'clock at night, you might see another truck once every, 5 or 10, 15 minutes. Now, I mean, you see one every 2 or 3 minutes, while you're driving down the road. There's a lot more truck traffic now. So when you look at the volume of trucks on the road, when you talk about inexperienced drivers or unprofessional drivers, percentage-wise, it's probably no different than it was back then. I just think there's more of them now. So if you had, let's say if you had 100 drivers back then and 10% of them were unprofessional, now you've got 1,000 and 10% are unprofessional. it's the same percentage-wise,
got
but
the
it's
same
more.
percentage, it's just more, just a
Right,
bigger
more
number.
out there. Now, I don't think that if you, I personally feel like if you can't, I'm not gonna knock anybody for driving an auto shift truck, but I personally like if you can't drive a manual, then you shouldn't be. If you can't drive a manual, then I don't think that you should have, be able to drive a truck. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
Well, I don't agree with that, and I say that because life and times are full of changes. I mean, there was a time that you drove a car, you had to know how to drive a Spanish ship because there was no automatic. But then automatics came into being. So if you can't drive an automatic, should you not be able to drive a car? I think a lot of times people equate. Now I've got drivers who sit there and tell me, well, I don't want to drive an automatic because you get out there on the snow and ice and it gets shifted on you. It can make you break traction to get you into a skid. Well, it's going to do the same thing that an automatic transmission does in a car. Are you afraid to get out there on the snow and ice in your car with automatic transmission because of snow and ice? No, because you just, you have to account for it. As they say, it's not the weather that causes accidents. They may be a factor, but what causes an accident are usually people's carelessness. And that seems to be the biggest thing, I hear people say. I think it's kind of like people want to shame people because, oh, you can't drive a stick shift. It doesn't matter. My job as a truck driver is not to be able to drive a stick shift, but to safely get freight from point A to point B. Is that with an automatic or is that with a standard shift? It doesn't matter. As long as I safely, timely deliver my freight. And that's what's most important.
Okay.
So as far as shifting goes, automatic shifting, it's all a matter of preference. Do you want chocolate donuts or jelly or glazed donuts?
Okay.
They're still donuts.
I can see that. I can get down with that. I just personally feel that someone, whether it's in a car or a truck, someone who drives a standard, usually someone who's paying more attention to the road, what's going on around them, and someone who's actually being more in tune with their driving, what they're doing. This is my personal opinion. I mean, it might not mean a hill of beans, but that's my personal opinion. But I can get down with that. I can see where you come. At the end of the day, the most important thing is you get it there safely, right? And in time.
And on time, safely and on time. Safety is key. As I remember working with not North American, but Snyder. I like Snyder's model. There's nothing that we do that is worth getting hurt or hurting others over. I like that. And that to me is the epitome of a professional truck driver. There is nothing that we do worth getting hurt or hurt over. I mean, is it more important to get in a hurry and your freight's in the middle of the roadway? Or is it more important to get there and at least get there?
So speaking of driving and safety, your first year driving, what do you remember your first experience driving in less than favorable winter conditions?
I was really puzzled, to be honest with you. No, and I say that because I was. Now I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I never jackknifed a truck before, because I have.
Right.
I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I never slid off the road before in ice, because I have. Absolutely. But I will tell you this much: I didn't do it the first year I drove. I didn't do it the first year I drove. And honestly, I was younger and my nerves were a whole lot better. But I would often go across Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, and the roads were iced over and snowing. And I would see trucks jackknife off the shoulder, off in the middle of the median, and things like that. And this is my first year driving, mind you. And I'm wondering, man, what happened that they lost control of the truck.
Right.
I'm sure that they probably have more experience than me because this is my first year. I started driving like in June of 1981. So that winter was my first time driving in the winter time. Why was I able to do it without, jackknifing, whatever?
Yeah.
Maybe because I was a new driver, and I was being a lot more cautious. I was a lot more, speed limit was 55. My truck only went maybe 64 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
68, 69. It didn't go very fast. Let me think. Did it get to 65 at one point? Apparently it did, because I got a ticket for going 65 one time in Texas. So that was probably my first year driving. I was probably more puzzled by how I was able to drive without having any problems with the road conditions. I didn't carry chains. I found myself in Colorado in snow that was crazy deep, but I made it. It was surprising to me. And maybe a lot of it was I was younger and stupid. But I don't know. But now as I've gotten older, heck, it starts raining, and I started looking for somewhere to pull over. I can't do it as much now because of our time restraints. We run against this clock. So it's like I'm always, I'm not gonna say that the clock supersedes safety, but unfortunately, a lot of times the clock, has me driving in maybe less than ideal times that I would prefer not to.
Right.
Now, with this new thing that they're allowing us to do at the end of September, I see where it could benefit me in that respect. Now, I can probably afford to stop if I really need to. So no, I was, like I said, first year driving, I was just amazed that I'm handling this truck in the different weather and different conditions and things that I was. But with your thing about the automatic and standard, I think it's that you have a love for standard shift, and that's what makes it so much more precious to you. You feel like you like to feel like. I mean, how many people do you know drive a standard shift car?
Well, not many.
And so that puts you in the minority of a very few people.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more fun. You're more in control of the vehicle, and I just believe, and it's almost like they'll say like, oh, people who smoke have a higher chance of I don't know, breaking a law or living a life of crime. I don't think because you smoke, you are going to live a life of crime. But you smoking, a lot of times people smoke, they start smoking at a young age, kind of a rebel thing to do, and they're not supposed to be doing it, and they just kind of the lifestyle and decisions that they make, And I kind of feel the same way when it comes to shifting gears and driving a truck or shifting gears driving a car. There's just a certain type of person that wants to do that type of stuff that I feel like is just overall safer or more aware driver.
Well, I'm gonna put it like this: there's some people like things the easy way, and some people like things the hard way. And so if you prefer things the harder way, then and you want the manual transmission, but like I say, the thing about trucking is the word that used to be in front of trucking, and that was the professional. Once you take the professional out of it, whether you drive a standard or a manual, it doesn't matter. Once you take professional out of it, you're just a trucker. Yeah, the standard, better automatic. Truckers are supposed to, truckers should be professional.
All right, so last question on this episode. We're pretty much spent 10 years in the 80s. But what would you say in your opinion, I mean, you've been in trucking for over
30 years maybe.
let's see here, 81. What you say, 81?
Well, how old are you?
37. I mean, well, I was born in 83. Okay, so 35 years. All right. In your opinion, what would you say were the glory years of trucking? Like, from what you experienced? You know, 80s, 90s, I guess early 2000s, 10s. Now, I guess we're going into the 20s. That's funny. You can start saying that again. Like, you can be like, hey, you know, remember what we did in the 20s, the 1920s? No, the 2020s.
Glory days of trucking.
Like, I think about, I mean, don't get me wrong, like,
okay, I'm gonna tell you something. And when I first started driving, I talked to a lot of guys that were older than me, and I wanted to learn about trucking, not about women, not about working in clubs, or not about, you know, different other little things going on. Because I was out here to work. Yes, I had things, I had time to try to enjoy myself, but for the most part, I was out here on the road to work, make a living. So I wanted to learn from those that had done it, on how to do it. And I remember talking to an older guy one time, and black guy, and he said, you know, and it's interesting because I watched somebody, he said, you know, I used to know where every black neighborhood in the country was at. So why is that? Because all the highways went through their part of town. And you know, it was interesting. I read something that said that because black people had so little power, gain, or position, that when they built the new highway, where did they take it? Through the least resistance. Where was that? Through the black community. Okay. Now, he stood back and he said, yeah, we dealt with segregation. If we weren't allowed to go inside to eat, we'd have to go sit back in the kitchen to eat. He said, but guess what? I got more food back there in the kitchen than I would have gotten out front. Because guess who was in the kitchen serving food? Black cooks. He said, you know, and of course he talked about how black drivers lived together because they had to. They needed each other out there. So I guess when you talk to me about the glory days and the good days, I would have to tell you I didn't get a chance to experience those. Because those days to me were the days that this guy described to me. You broke down and 10 truck drivers pulled over to help you. They didn't get on the CB and say, hey, you got a problem, as they zoomed by at 65 miles an hour. Right. There's no way they can stop to help you. They didn't call on the CB. They saw you broke down, they pulled over. Why? Because we needed each other. Okay. We had to help each other. We couldn't depend on a roadside service truck to come out there and get you off the side of the road. You had other drivers pull over and help you fix the flat or whatever. You know, everybody carried tools. So I never, to me, those were the glory days of trucks, when truck drivers worked together, helped each other, stuck together. I didn't get a chance to experience those days. So I got a chance to, now don't get me wrong, we're riding around here in these trucks now, automatic transmissions, air conditioners that'll freeze you out, refrigerators, microwave, electric George Foreman grills, you know, you name it, you know, curtains in the truck, air ride seats, you know, yes, the equipment is a lot nicer, absolutely. But I think, like I say, I miss the glory days. When trucking was about, yes, making money, but also looking out for your fellow truck driver. Because it was hard out here then, it was extremely difficult, and in order to make it, we all had to work together. And like I say, I enjoyed them stories, I enjoyed listening to them, and he's pretty much right. If you look at where the major roads went, you look at where the interstates went, they went through and cut up mostly the black neighborhoods. And you wonder why some roads zigzag and crooked and everything else. You know, you're like, well, why can't they just make the road straight? No, because going straight, it would have went through a white neighborhood. There's the black neighborhood over here. So we're going to divert this road.
So did you ever, as a truck driver, have you ever felt like you dealt with a direct experience less than favorable experience because of the color of your skin?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna tell you no for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm aware of racism. I realize it exists. I do remember back when I first started driving, and I believe actually now about the CB. Two things I do not miss in a truck. It looks like it's about to become a third thing, which is the radio. I don't miss my CB, and I do not miss a radar detector. I remember I used to run a radar detector. They became illegal. I took it out, and guess what? I have not missed it since. I got tired of all that beeping when it beeped. I got tired of all that looking around trying to find something when it beeped. You know what? It got rid of it. I no longer did that. CB, I took it out. Now, about the biggest thing was, now I will admit that back during my time when I first started driving, the most racial things I experienced was usually on the CB radio.
Okay.
You know, white guy would hear you talking on the radio, and they would call you a porch monkey, or they'd call you a nigger, or things like that. And I thought it was funny because a lot of times I would sit back and say, you know, it's so funny. The same person on that CB radio probably calling you a nigger is the same person that if you're sitting in the restaurant, he'll buy you a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Because you can be, you know, CB radio was like the first Facebook or the first social media almost. You can be whoever you want to be.
Incognito on the radio, behind that mic.
And yeah, and create your own persona, whatever you want to create.
Behind that mic. You know, so that was probably the most racial things I experienced was on the CB radio itself. I've been real fortunate in the times that I grew up in. Maybe a lot of it has to do with the lifestyle that I lived as well. You know, maybe some of the lifestyle I lived kind of kept me away from certain situations. You know, I grew up not being a person that believed in pool halls because I didn't think a pool hall was a good place to be in. People, you know, I mean, it was so funny because I used to, one of the customers I went to one day, I was delivering, and I got a phone call that someone offered me a job as a production photographer. And I told him, well, I'm thinking about doing another job, but I'm not sure I want to leave right now. The guy said to me, he said, look, let me tell you something, I don't want to get in your business. I know you're going to do what you got to do for yourself. He said, but I would hate to see you leave this company because I enjoy when you come up here and visit with us. I really look forward to you coming and delivering, you know. And I was like, wow, for real? I mean, there were two customers, they were two older guys, and I don't know if you remember, there used to be a radio show, came on Saturdays called Click and Clack. They had a radio automotive show. You know, anyway, Click and Clack, they called themselves Click and Clack the Tapping Brothers. Well, these two older guys, I pretty much called them Click and Clack of the furniture business. You know, I would come up there and I say, hey, how you doing? Where your no good brother at? Oh, he back here around here somewhere. You know, I mean, but you know, I had rapport with him. I had one customer, and I mean, I felt like I was a bartender all of a sudden because this man is not crying as in actually tears, but he's hurt because his wife has left him, and he's talking to me about it. You know, and I'm standing there for 30 minutes listening to him, but he felt so comfortable with me to talk to me about it. Had another customer, his ex-wife, well, his late wife had died, and it would have been her birthday, and he was, you know, feeling some kind of way, and he shared that with me. At one other customer one time, the lady told me, she said, sir, she said, you must not have a care in the world. I said, why you say that? She said, every time you come in here, you got a smile on your face and you just as happy. I said, let me tell you something. I got all kind of problems. I said, but when I get out that truck, I leave my problems in the truck. Because my problems are not your problems.
I heard that.
You know, and one lady down in Belzona, Mississippi, one time she told our salesman, oh, he is just the greatest guy. I just look forward to seeing him. He come in here, he's all happy, he's all cheerful. You know, he's this, he's that, you know, and he's always helpful. He's trying to help us, you know, this and that, you know. So I guess the household worked for me because I like people. I enjoyed being around people. I enjoyed helping people, whatever, and I still enjoy people. So I enjoyed C&L because there again, a lot of the business that we worked with were small mom and pop type businesses, and they weren't making a lot of money, but they were trying to exist. And if anything I could do to help them, it was never a point of it wasn't my job. My job was to help them however I could. You got something, you got a problem. If I can solve it for you, help you out, no problem. If I can give you an idea of how the company works, what you should do to get things taken care of, I'm going to help you.
Okay.
So, like I say, I've enjoyed trucking. I've enjoyed helping people. Do I have everything I want? No, but I got everything I need.
Amen to that. All right, we're gonna wrap up this episode of Smooth Operator Trucking. Next, we're gonna talk about. On the next one, we're gonna talk about life after North America. So, thank you for watching. If you're enjoying so far, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that like button.